Going. This will be we are recording this, so thank you for being here. I like to get pretty interactive. I will ask questions. You can feel free to use the chat, or, they'll make it pretty informal. Feel free to just unmute yourself and answer questions. And I feel like we all learn better when we're learning from each other. So, let's just go with that. So I think we've got a good amount of people, and to respect everyone's time, we will, I don't know what time it is, but we will go ahead and get started. So let me make sure I have my notes up here so that I know exactly what to say. So if you're not speaking, actually, I'll just do that. If you are not speaking, just for background noise purposes, if we could all have our microphones on mute, but please do, if you have something to add, please do unmute yourself. I might have to ask you to unmute. I don't think I will. Anyhow, with that being said, I welcome you here today. My name is Kerri Harnett. I am from Portland, Oregon. And I have been a realtor. Actually, I'm a third generation realtor. I've been a realtor for nearly 16 years. I'm actually celebrating 16 years next month. I can't believe it. This year has gone by like that for most of us. And so I just am here today, and I'm grateful to be able to share how I flood my business with referrals. I've always grown my business off of referrals. And while I have had some wonderful clients come to me through phone calls or the internet, I make it a point to really turning that client into a client for life. And so hopefully you'll all learn something from me. And I absolutely encourage you to rip off and duplicate whatever it is that I'm going to share with you. So we'll go ahead and get started. Just out of curiosity, and you can put it in the chat or raise your hand, how many of you are currently working by referral? You can raise your virtual hand or your hand. I can't see everyone, but I don't know why. Let's see here. Yes, we've got some referral makers here. Great. So anyone interested in learning how to, obviously you're here, you're learning, wanting to get some more tips on how to do that. So what I'd like to share with you is one of the things that I have done and I've learned in my real estate experience is that real estate is actually a contact sport. It's a little bit difficult right now because we're not just running into people, although depending on your community, you might be just running into people. And I think it's been a really interesting time for me, especially, for those of you who've been in the business for any amount of time, you know that anything that you do today is probably going to come to fruition in the next 90 days, and that we need to continue making contact with our groups, our tribe, finding your tribe. I have a handful of tribes, and one of them is actually my real estate agent tribe. Realtors from across the country, I would say in any given year, my business usually exceeds 60% in referrals coming from realtors across the country. So, for those of you who know me, and for those of you who may not know me, I am very involved with my associations. And a lot of people don't get involved in their associations or in their company and going to their company meetings because they feel that it's going to take away from their business and their opportunity to earn. But I got to tell you, that's been the exact opposite for me. From day one, I started, in fact, I took a PMN course called Referrals and Networking. It's a performance management network course. If you haven't heard of it, I don't even know if it's still around. I assume it is because we're all about referrals here at Women's Council. But it was the first class that I took, and I hadn't even actually gotten my license yet. And I honestly thought that referral was literally agent referrals. I didn't even consider it being outside of that just because of the caliber of what we were talking about. And I just started building my business off of realtors that I met throughout the country. And specifically, what I will tell you is I've had a lot, I would say, that being said, I get referrals from all over the country, but typically people in your region are moving around your region. And so when I say that, and even if they're not moving around your region, you know, an agent in, say, in my area, Washington State, which is our neighbor to the north. I just got a listing referral from someone in Washington State who also holds her license in Alaska, which is both part of my regions. And she has a family member that had a home in the Portland area that needed to sell. And so that's what I mean by your region. I have people from one of my very first, early on transactions, and actually the only transaction that I think I've had that I represented a builder, that actually came from a women's council member. That referral came from a women's council member in Central Oregon. She called one of our leaders. This was, again, real early on. I'd say maybe 2007, or maybe between 2007 and 9, somewhere in that awesome period of time. She called one of the leaders, and this leader particularly didn't want to cross the river. She worked on the west side. And if you know Portland, and Jennifer, you know what I'm talking about. On the west side, sometimes people don't come across the river because, I don't know, that was back then. I think people have changed their minds now. I think maybe the price point wasn't high enough, and now the price points are high enough, they'll go anywhere. But I would go anywhere because I was a brand new realtor, or fairly new realtor. That referral led to 4 listings, brand new construction listings, that I was able to help my clients get through in a very difficult time. If you remember 2007, 8, 9, 10, not necessarily the best time for real estate. So that is just finding your tribe, finding the people who you want to do business with, because that's the beauty of referrals, is that you get to do business with people who know you, and who love you, and who trust you. And don't we all want to do more business like that? Wouldn't that be nice if every single piece of business was someone who not necessarily knows you, but wants to get to know you, and then also loves you and trusts you at the same time? So how do we get to know more people, and how do you consistently connect with them? So those are some of the examples. Another couple of examples that I have. You know, again, a little bit harder these days to find people that you might not know. But I will say that my yoga community has been a wonderful community to be a part of. Even now, all of my classes are online or via Zoom, and I have met some people that I definitely wouldn't have met them. And even going into the studio, I would go into the studio, I'd sit on my mat, I'd come into my own, and I'd close my eyes. And because the studio I go to, the classes are fairly full, I would just find my space and be in my space. And even these days, because we're in such an intimate setting like this, right, where we're all actually engaged, and some of the yoga classes that I take are not your typical posture classes. It's more reading and understanding and getting to know these people. So there are ways to do this. I've been on a number of networking Zoom calls where I've actually met people that I hadn't met before. And then of course you find them on Facebook, and you become friends that way, and you handwrite them a note, because there's nothing more powerful than a handwritten note. We're meeting people differently, but we are still meeting people. In the past, I would say, again, we've talked about my realtor friends. I do love going to the pub in Oregon. That's one of the big things that we do is go out and have a nice craft beer or a beautiful wine. And so I would meet a lot of people doing that as well. In addition to, you know, we all, maybe not so much these days, but our hairdresser. Our business owners, the business owners in my community. I step outside my place now, and there are literally 7 locally owned restaurants. Unfortunately, only one of them are open right now. But supporting the community and the business owners, I think right now is an opportunity. Someone said this best: we are not in a business of selling, we are in a business of supporting. And I would argue that that is true every day, not just in today's world. We are in the business to support one another. And I believe truly that what you give reflects back to you in tenfold. And so I'm a huge, huge firm believer in giving to receive. and not necessarily because you know you're going to receive something, but because it's sort of just that law of reciprocity. And so I would highly recommend at this point and at any point, you come from contribution. Over the last few months, as we've all had this opportunity to pause, I have called, texted, Facebook messaged, whatever it is that I, because everyone sort of communicates differently. And it really has been, my message has literally been, how are you doing? And what can I do to support you at this point? And like I mentioned earlier, when we first got started, what we do today will come to fruition in 90 days from today. And so I'm starting to see that come to fruition. Just this week alone, I've had 3 listing referrals come to me. One that I'm taking today, one actually is a list and a buy. And that's just this week, and it's Tuesday. So I know that all of the efforts that I made 90 days ago when we got put in this situation are starting to come together. And I truly believe that I will finish out this year probably stronger than I anticipated at the beginning of this year, because I took the time to do that. So I highly recommend, if you didn't start 90 days ago, start today, because the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the next best time is today. So start today. Start doing something. 5 text calls, pop-bys a day. People appreciate it. And I think that we're at a point in where we're at in this world that people are open. In fact, you'd be really surprised. I've done some pop-bys, and you'd be really surprised how excited they are to see you, because they're not seeing anyone else. So take that and run with it, So let's see here. Now I've got to, why are you not doing what I want you to do? There we go. So who's heard of the profile of the home buyer and seller? Anyone know about this from the, good job. Yes, I knew, Corinne, you're a superstar. I knew you would know. This is a study that the National Association of Realtors does on an annual basis. I don't believe we have, no, we wouldn't. This is the most current study, because obviously they take it from the entire year. So next year we would see this come out, I believe in January is when this comes out. So according to the National Association of Realtors, the 2019 report, home buyers and sellers, 89% of both buyers and sellers worked with an agent through the real estate transaction. So that means only 11% did it on their own, or maybe an interfamily transfer, or something to that nature. Of those 41% of buyers and 66% of sellers worked with an agent who was referred by a friend, neighbor, or relative. So getting into the referral game is almost like a shoo-in. People do want a good recommendation, and yeah, they might check your Zillow profile and see if you have any testimonials or recommendations or reviews. But I don't know. I am a firm believer that I think that there is so much power in the referral from a friend, relative, or neighbor, that those of us who don't have a lot of reviews on Zillow, like myself, I still get business, and I'm still getting quality business that I'm not having to nurture for so long as you might with an internet type lead, or even a sign call, or for sale by owner, or whatever it is. So additionally, 90% of buyers and 70% of sellers said that they would use their agent again and recommend to others. However, that's not what's actually happening. So where is this here? And it's not in my notes. 70% said that they would recommend their agent for future business. And I'm not seeing it on here, but the majority, the percentage of people who actually do recommend or use their agent is much lower than that. So these are home buyers and sellers that were basically interviewed or surveyed right after their transactions. So they're happy, they loved their agent, they would definitely use them again. But say 2 years down the road, if they have someone that they're referring to, they're not using them. Why do you think that is? Anyone have any thoughts about why that might be the case? And feel free to unmute yourself and shout it out, or even type it in the chat, although I'm not sure seeing my chat right now. So
I think that a lot of times you're meeting a client, and in my case, frequently from out of the area, and you find them a home, and their social circle expands where they're living. And even though I'm keeping in touch, sometimes they get to be best friends with another realtor in that neighborhood, or where their kids go to school, or, you know, their husband's boss's wife or something like that.
or their cousin gets the license.
Yeah, and they end out, you know, going with those people.
Yeah. Anyone else have any thoughts on why they wouldn't use you in the future, even though they were so happy about you when they did it? Well, one of the things that I learned in my almost 16 years is that it's really about connection and staying in contact. And yes, there's always that person that does become friends. In fact, I had a wonderful, and we're still friends, and I'm still popping by her and I still connect with her, a wonderful client who she worked with me. She referred millions of dollars of real estate to me, in addition to some of the things that she transacted herself. She got in a position where she ended up renting after she sold her last house, and the owner was a realtor and an attorney, and they put a clause in that said, if you sell or if you buy within this time, I'll waive my fees, not realtor fees, but you know, she would waive some sort of deposit or whatever it was. And so that being said, she did end up using another realtor. However, she still refers to me. And that's the beauty of it. I still stay in contact with her. I would say these days I'm staying in contact more frequently. I have, there's a study that maybe many of you, I think it was Hobbs Herder that did the study, and it boils down to what's called, and we'll get into it a little bit, it's called the 8x8. And so they had done a study where they called a neighborhood and said, do you know who this fake realtor is, essentially? And no one really knew the name. We could just call him Joe Smith, you know, that's how generic it was. And then after 8 weeks of touching the same group of people 8 times with a, you know, postcard or, you know, some type of mailing piece or phone call or something like that, they called back, and actually Joe Smith was now #1 realtor, who was actually a fake realtor. So the power of connection. Now, this was a long time ago that this study was done. I mean, this was done before I got into real estate. And again, I've been in real estate for 16 years. These days, I feel like it takes even more, because our at the rate of information that we get these days, wasn't before the internet, but it certainly was before social media and how we communicate with people. So these days, I believe it does take more of that. And so I think that that's really something worth noting. And that if you look at how often you're actually communicating with your people, I think that's going to be wildly important to make this a successful route of business for you for referrals. So, well, we can't do an exercise right now, can we? But we can talk amongst ourselves. Let's take about 5 minutes to discuss maybe the opportunity of doing business with like-minded people in your tribe. I'd love to hear from some of you about, you know, I shared a couple of examples of who where I'm getting my clients and my referrals. Anyone have anything to add? There's so many, there's no wrong answers. So just raise your hand, shout it out, unmute yourself first. I hope I don't think I have to ask people to, no? Well, I can give you some more examples if you guys don't have any. So I mentioned my yoga community. I actually sold, I'm at a different community now, but the first community that I really got involved in, it was a much smaller community. And there was probably a good 5 or 6 of us that had actually went religiously, like every day, if not more than once a day. And out of that community, the owner referred me to a buyer who then sold 3 years later. And I helped 2 of my fellow classmates buy homes. And at this point, they're all still living there. So that's great. It's only been a few years. Hopefully they are there for a long time. So that's one way. Your PTAs, if any of you have young children, you can, and you know, especially in this environment where we're not necessarily seeing people, but I see one of you, I think it's Cynthia, you have a child behind you. Is that a child that I see behind you? Cynthia Trin?
Oh.
Many of you have had to, is that a child behind you? No, not a child. Okay. Well, for those of you who have children that had to homeschool, that's a network right there. You know, I actually homeschooled my son when he was in the 1st grade for about, oh gosh, he was too smart for me. So it was only about 6 months. But I surrounded myself with other homeschool mothers that I could actually say, hey, I am no good at math. Can you teach math? I'm pretty good at business. Or not business, 1st grade, probably not a good time. Well, maybe it is a good time to teach business, but anyhow, like your PTAs or your moms, there's a wonderful group called MOB. It's mom-owned businesses. And I know they started here in Portland, but they have networks all across the country. And actually my business coach, who is the owner of that yoga studio, she swears by it. She loves it. They are all about supporting mom-owned businesses. And for those of us who have children and are in real estate, we are the MOB. We are mom-owned businesses. So that's another wonderful network to be a part of. You know, for those of you who may have gone up the ranks with Women's Council and have gone to Leadership Academy or Network 360, that's another network. Again, a realtor network, but that's a group of people that you have that you spent time with and you have the opportunity to like bounce things off of. That's just another network there. So I highly encourage you all to get out in your community. Let's see, we've got soccer clubs, your neighborhood association, the CRS, I hear, is a wonderful referral network. Women's Council, again, I cannot tell you how much Women's Council has given me business opportunities, and additionally, my realtor association in general, because realtors like to refer to people that they know, love, and trust, right? So, and it's not just realtors, it's people in general. I don't know of anyone who really doesn't want to refer to, they want to be your raving fan. So, so I would just say throughout this call, maybe make a list of 3 to 5 people that you'd like to do business with and start connecting, start assisting with their success, start coming from contribution. What can I do to assist your success? That is something that I ask people all the time. And again, the more you give, the more you're going to receive. So I would challenge you to dig deeper into your relationships. One thing that I've done, I'm not doing so well at this point, but I did set up in the past on my Facebook, I've set up lists of people, because you can really use Facebook like a database, right? In fact, I go into Facebook these days and it's even got my calendar somehow integrated with at least on one of my business pages, like you have to be here at this point. I'm like, how did you know that? You know, but Facebook can be used very effectively or Instagram. I actually have had 2 people reach out to me on Instagram wanting to purchase homes. They're not on Facebook so much. They might be on Facebook, but they're more on Instagram. And so they've reached out to me through Messenger. And so social media can be, especially again, these days, you know, it's important. It's important to protect your energy. Let's just start there, right? So social media can be kind of a draining thing in our current world. or in general. So don't spend too much time on it, but that's where lists might come in real handy, is you can put together lists of your past clients or your realtor friends or your family members. And then you can you can actually go and search, say, your past clients and in that list, and see maybe they had an anniversary or a birthday, or their son graduated from high school this year or college, or someone got married, or there's a new baby. There's an opportunity for you to write a note. I know some people have taken that a step further, where they've taken the picture that they see of the celebration, and I don't know, this is kind of stalkerish, but they've taken the picture, they've actually printed it and sent it to them in a note saying, I saw this on Facebook and I just wanted you to have an actual picture of it, because no one really prints pictures anymore. So just another idea that you can do with your group. So your business really is your database, and we kind of touched a little bit on the Facebook database. And I'm not texting, I'm just looking at my notes over here. So hopefully you guys are okay. And technology is always a challenge these days. There we go. So I think this is the statistic that I wanted to share with you on the home buyer and home seller profile. So only 70% of home sellers actually use their agent again, when 90% said they would. And this really does come down to your database. Your database, and there's many databases out there. They are, in fact, let's go to that slide. We've got anything from Outlook to Brian Buffini and Company. There was one I was using called Sphere, which I actually switched over to another one recently called ConvertKit. ConvertKit is not a real estate per se, but it's got some pretty robust features that I wanted, such as automation with communication, which is important. Constant Contact is another one. MailChimp I used for I'm converting it over to ConvertKit, but MailChimp I was using to send out an e-newsletter twice a month. It was once a month, but during this time I felt like it was not just, again, we're in the business of supporting, not selling, but I do want people to know that I am still selling as well. So I've got a newsletter that goes out that's more real estate related, and another one that goes out that's more community related. Market Leader is another great site, CRM, and Boomtown is another one that I hear people use a lot. Outlook, there's even Outlook, right? But whatever it is that you're going to use, make sure you use it. You don't want to be spending $40 a month on something that you're not using. And this is kind of why I ended up moving. I was with Market Leader when I was with my previous company, and there's a lot that it could do. You could pay for leads, you could communicate, you could have all your notes in one area, which is what I don't love about ConvertKit. We're trying to come up with a workaround about that. There's no space for notes. But your business, if you were to retire today, and say you've been in the business for 25 years and you have a robust book of business that you've worked and have like notes and birth dates and anniversaries and all these things in one place, that really is truly the value of your business. If you brought on a team member, say you're just growing your business and you want your team member to get to know your business and introduce them, you want a place where they can actually read from notes, because Facebook, let's face it, it can be a database, but it's not storing anything for you other than you could probably search things pretty easily. But you want a place that you could say, here's all of my here's when their son graduated from high school. The last conversation we had was they were getting ready to do a remodel. Let's follow up with, hey, do you need any resources? So it's a really great tool for you to be able to communicate. And again, communication in real estate, I think, is one of the biggest complaints that our consumers have, is that we don't communicate very well. And maybe it's because we're too busy, or maybe we just don't, that's not our business model. But if you're in the referral business, then it should definitely be your business model to be communicating, and communicating effectively. And when people get a handwritten note, a birthday card, whatever, that's pretty special these days because not many people are actually taking the time to do that. So again, you know, these are extremely important tools. Whatever system that you're going to use, just, you know, make sure that it has an option to keep concise data, contact records, and your communication so that you can communicate more effectively with your clients. In fact, that's one of my my goals in my business, is to make sure that I'm connecting with my networks both effectively and efficiently. And so a good CRM will help you do that. I did mention Facebook lists, messengers, texts, Instagram, personal birthday. I actually don't do a blast on someone's wall anymore, like a Facebook post. I actually will go in and actually either into the messenger. If I know them and I have their text, it's more of a text, you know, if I have that information, because that stands out from the rest of the birthday messages. Or you can go into Messenger on Facebook, and I don't know if you know this, but there's a way that you can actually talk and leave a message. You can actually record your voice. You can sing them happy birthday. And that's certainly going to stand out versus a message on their Facebook wall that majority of people, I would say, they probably get at least 100, you know, depending on, especially, I don't know, if you have 100 friends, you're probably not getting 100 posts, but you're still going to get inundated with Facebook posts on your birthday. And so this is just a way to stand out a little bit more than that. Okay, so the next slide is about being intentional. We talked a little bit about the 8x8. This is something that is a good way to cement a relationship. We talked about, you know, just the study that was done, and I don't know, it's probably these days more I've heard people start do an 8x8 campaign, and it's 8 touches in 8 days, because again, these days we get inundated with so much information that perhaps 8 weeks might be a little bit too long to wait to connect with someone. And these could be a combination of a personal note, a Facebook message, a phone call, a text, an email with market updates, an invitation to meet. And then, you know, again, I cannot express how important the power of a handwritten note is. I just feel like anytime you have a communication with someone, whether it be a phone call or really just anytime. I mean, these days I'm literally sending out notes to people, letting them know how inspired I am by them, letting them know that I'm thinking about them, and you know, always kind of keeping that in mind, that what can I do to help? What can I do to assist with your success? So that's really what an 8x8 is. So, you know, 8 touches over 8 weeks, 8 touches over 8 days. You kind of be the judge of your database. I personally would hate someone touching me 8 times in 8 days. And when I say touch, I hope not like touch, but a touch, a contact, right? I guess if you were to choose 8 emails over 8 days, that probably isn't the best way to communicate, but you know, maybe a couple emails and a couple of texts, or a text message and a handwritten note. There's a variety of ways that you can do that. So that's basically the 8x8. The next intentional piece of this is what I refer to as the 12 direct. It's a direct mail marketing once per month. This is good for a farm, like if you are maybe a demographic farm, maybe you farm attorneys or divorce attorneys. That might be good for, you know, once a month marketing piece for them. Or of course, a geographic farm. If you farm your neighborhood, you might find that one direct mailing piece a month, whether that be a list of homes that either you've sold or homes that have sold recently in the neighborhood. I mean, really just highlighting the fact that there's still market activity. Obviously, if you don't have homes that you've sold recently in that area, it's something that you can look through the not the RMLS, but whatever MLS you belong to. And of course, if you're sourcing, citing the source, that's always a good thing to do as well. So just kind of letting people know that there is market activity, that's really helpful. Some people do farmers markets, just depends on your personality. I know my mom in Boise, Idaho does, or I think she still does, recipe cards, which so many people are like, recipe cards, what does that have to do with real estate? Well, it doesn't have anything to do with real estate, but it does have to do with being home, doesn't it? And these days we all need more recipe cards. But I will tell you that her farm that she started this, she's been in business now for 25 years, and she really wanted to own that, her neighborhood. And she basically owns it now from recipe cards. So, you know, kudos to her. But if you are going to do something intentional like that, make sure that it is, you have the funds and the longevity, if you will, to stay in, especially if it's a mailing piece, to be able to get that out, because it doesn't happen overnight, especially if it's a group like a farm that you don't know. I actually do a 12 direct. It's a little bit different now because, again, I'm sharing more community things than just salesy things. Mine is I do a e-newsletter. I mentioned I do one through MailChimp, and that's shifting over to ConvertKit here soon. But an email newsletter that is pretty, it's pretty short. And that's why I kind of broke it up into two, because one, everyone wants to know what's going on in the market. And these are my, this is my sphere and my networks that I have contact information for. So it is a market action report, which is highlighting you. I'm assuming all of your MLSs have something that they highlight the monthly sales. Whether it be your MLS or maybe your company has information to share, but it's always good. Everyone wants to know what's happening in the market. So it highlights that and what our average price is and what the, you know, if it was increased in days on market and things that just highlights that people really want to know. I also include homes that have sold or gone under contract in that newsletter. In addition, we just started, because we have a handful of buyers that are starting to get more comfortable with going out and looking at properties. And so we highlight what our buyers are looking for, just in case someone in our database might have a lead for a seller, or either a home that might fit their needs, or maybe maybe they decide they just want to sell in general, or they want to buy. So it's just a nice way to kind of highlight our clients to our clients and really use our networks to bring success for everyone. The last one, and this is actually what I really do. So the 12 direct is really meant for a group, like I said, my realtors. My realtor farm, I would say they get a 12 direct. A 33 touch is what I use to maintain the relationship over 1 year. And actually, these days I'm probably doing more than 33 touches, because in my system, if you will, my 33 touches looks essentially, now it's 24. We'll see how long that lasts, but 24 e-newsletters. I am doing 4 personal calls a year, followed up by 4 handwritten notes. And so that right there, you've got 24. Now we're at 32 right there. But that's not where I stop, right? So I actually do and I might actually switch to a paper, one paper newsletter and one e-newsletter, because there's also power in paper. I'm a green agent, so I'm not all about wasteful paper, but I think that there is some power in the fact that people don't get as much mail as they used to. And I think that's sort of breaks up the monotony of the email. I do about 2 client I do a lot for the community. So this week I am offering, I teach yoga I share my practice with anyone who wants to join me on Tuesday and Wednesday mornings. And this month I was offering these for free, but this month I decided it was a good idea to offer them for donations to different various organizations that I care about. So this week I am actually getting to pick up a brand new car tomorrow, and I'm donating my old car to Meals on Wheels. And I will reach out to clients, or excuse me, yeah, clients, friends, anyone, and let them know that my practice this week is I'm supporting Meals on Wheels. And if they'd like to join me, I would love to have them, and if they would consider making a donation in their name, of course, to Meals on Wheels. I also host a food drive once a year, as well as a backpack drive once a year. And so with those things, those what I kind of liken them to like a client party. You know, it'll be a period of time that I'm actually having the drives, but then there'll be one sort of you know, crown jewel moment where we actually have the party. And sometimes I've done it at a local bowling alley. We've done shred days in the past where we invite people to come out and bring all of their documents to shred, or any of their recyclables. We can, you know, batteries, light bulbs, paint, anything, clothes, we take it. So that's just something that we offer because we are part of the community. And with that, along with that goes getting people to the event, right? So making the calls and doing the pop-bys. I did want to share something that I did, and this is the second time that I've done it. I mentioned I am a green designee, and I live in Portland, Oregon. So we're a bunch of crunchy hippies over here. I give out what's called a Chico bag. And this is, before all of this happened, when I say this, I mean COVID, and we were allowed to use reusable bags, which is shopping bags. I had ordered 100 of these in honor of the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. And I was going to do a shred day, but that didn't work out. So I ended up just providing resources for people that they could go and do their recycling. But what these are reusable shopping bags that you can squunch into a tiny little pouch and throw it in your purse, and you'll never forget it. And then when they go shopping, your information is all over it. So in Oregon, or in Portland, especially before COVID, we were, they banned, if you will, if that's a way to put it, I don't know, they banned the use of paper and plastic bags at the store. So they were encouraging people to use these reusable bags. And so I think I'm down to probably 50 now, because I actually have given quite a few out. I have either mailed or popped by, and I get great response from them. And it is something that they will always have. In fact, I got these that I did this year. It's not like a decal. It's actually like, it's solid. When they wash this isn't going away. So my logo will always be with them. And as long as they remember it, which is pretty easy to do, they'll take it with them. So those are just some of the things that I do to maintain relationships in my 33 touch. It's not passive, and it's not necessarily aggressive, I would say. I am very blessed with the fact that I have built wonderful relationships, and my people that are still referring to me because I'm not aggressive, and I'm not just sending information that they may or may not, you know, we all get a lot of emails, so they may or may not even get those emails that I'm sending. But most of the time I can see on MailChimp and many of the CRMs that I mentioned, you can see what their open rate is. So, and how many times they've opened. So it's kind of fun. So anyway, any other ideas that anyone wants to throw out there with what they're maybe doing, especially around like client parties? I love hearing about people's client parties. I know there's some people that have rented out movie theaters in the past. We've got to get a little bit more creative these days with our clients during this environment. But I mean, someday we're going to be able to see each other again in person. So just kind of get your juices flowing. And if you have any ideas and you want to share them with me down the road, I'd love to include them in this presentation. So I think the biggest thing to remember is to come from contribution. It really is. I cannot say that enough. Come from contribution. Oh, I think there's some people sharing things. Oh, look, there's my chat. Lack of follow-up. That was from, where did you get the other order of the bags? So the bags came from Chico Bag, CHICO. They are a benefit corporation out of Chico, California. And what a benefit corporation does, and actually I just became a certified benefit corporation. What they do is a benefit corporation puts people and planet before profit. So that being said, you heard me talk about all of my social work that I do in the community. I am more about helping others than I am about helping myself. So that's essentially what a benefit corporation is. Let's see, depends on your market, whether big events work. Yeah, that's true. It does depend on your market. You got it, Cynthia. Oh, pie parties. Yes. Corinne, that's a great one. Do you do like a sweet pie or the pizza pie?
No, I do the Thanksgiving pies. I do coconut or apple. I think I had 3 last year, 3 varieties. Now, for the few years before that, I brought the pies to my clients, but this year I tried something a little different where I had the clients come to me to a local restaurant, and I gave them hors d'oeuvres and we brought in wine and stuff, and it was pretty cool. I was surprised because I was kind of scared to do it, but I really wanted to have more, but then the pandemic hit, so I have to do it.
Yeah, I know a couple of people who use Pi Day, which I believe is 3/14. Is that the Pi Day?
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, and they do that. They'll do the Pi Day on instead of Thanksgiving, they'll do it on Pi Day. And I didn't do it, but I was thinking about doing like a pizza Pi Day on Pi Day.
Good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of a fun, just out of the box, you know, especially like Thanksgiving. It seems like everyone's doing something, and kind of why I do Earth Day, because everyone knows about it, but they don't necessarily do anything for it. And it's spring cleaning. So the shred day with us was,
that's great. Yeah.
It was a big success. What's another one that I've heard? Oh, I actually do, and this is really fun. I incorporate this with my, I was doing a fall food drive. So it would start around like shortly before Halloween, and end about a week before Thanksgiving, so that we could take the food to a local food bank and it would be there for when, you know, Thanksgiving shoppers might need it. But I was doing a pumpkin pot pie. And I've tried it a couple ways. I've tried it to have, I've tried it where I've invited people to come out to the pumpkin patch. That didn't work very well, but I know people have had really good success with it. And I think, the other one that I did pumpkin pot pies. And actually the first year we did it which is probably why I keep doing it. We got a listing and like about $1 million worth of a listing and a sale out of it, because he was ready to sell and buy something new. Wow. So yeah, so I keep doing that kind of stuff. And now what I do is I actually give out the pumpkins at the client party. I invite them to come, and if they bring some food, cans of food, then they get a pumpkin. So so lots of different ways. I think that probably, again, the message that is about consistency in any of this, and you know, making sure that you're someone told me very recently, actually, I think it was the shred day that we did, because we combined our efforts with another agent in the office. She said, it's not about who shows up. It's about the effort you made before to get them to show up, because every time you get a chance to connect with someone, that's another touch. And then you can even, you know, after the fact, call them, thank you for either showing up, or sorry we missed you. We just wanted to let you know, here was what our success was. We donated this many bags to Goodwill, and we shred this amount. So just consistency and follow-up is really important. So
I think it's okay to start on a smaller basis. I mean, I always was thinking, oh, I have to have this big huge thing, but you don't. Even if you
No.
have 10 people, 5 people show up and you're on one-on-one with them, you just go build it from there. And I was always thinking, oh, I got to have a real big thing. I don't have the money for that. But that's not the way it really works.
Right.
You know?
No, it's not. And you can get, you know, I know some people that do Christmas tree giveaways, and
I did wreaths once. I did wreaths. Yeah, that was
a good idea. Probably a lot less expensive than Christmas trees. I'm pretty sure the budget for that is like $13,000. I'm like, I never want to have a budget like that. Not for that. So one of the things that I have learned in my my years of doing this is that managing your time is critical in this business. And I think part of why some people don't necessarily effectively get things done. So my biggest, if you take anything away, is if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist. It literally does not exist. My calendar tells me what my calendar is, my boss. And if it wasn't, I'll share a picture with you about what my calendar, this is literally a week in the life. Now this is actually this was in January, February. I think I probably gave you a look. I even had a Zoom call back then. It's funny to look back. My calendar looks a lot different these days, but everything on my calendar, whether it be handwriting notes or Facebook posts and Instagram, scheduling those, or client appointments, my yoga, you can see I do a lot of yoga. If it's not on your calendar, it just doesn't exist. And so I highly recommend, and what I do, and this has been a struggle for me this year because, you know, we've had to be so flexible with our schedules. I recommend, I'm actually probably, one of the things that I am going to do this month is basically recast my business plan, because the business plan didn't happen as I expected, as I wrote it down. And so part of that is part of what I do at the beginning of the year is calendar everything. I just block it, because then I know if someone's like, oh, I have an appointment, or do you have time to have an appointment? Typically it's blocked in a time that's all consistent, and I can say, oh yeah, I do have an appointment available for that time. So I can't stress to you enough that it really is important. If it's not on your calendar, it just doesn't exist. And I'm sure you can relate to that. So we are coming to, we got a couple minutes left, but just wanted to give you a few tips to make it rain referrals in your area. Start a conversation. That is point A right there, you know, let people know what you do. I like to say that we're community builders. That's who we are, right? We build communities. So start that conversation. Create partnerships. Again, you know, harder to do, but think of your hairdresser, think of your business, your favorite restaurant business owner across the street, or think of your yoga studio, or your, you know, the coach and the soccer. Create partnerships with people who are your contractors, you know, people who are in positions to actually send business your way. Providing great service. This one speaks volumes. If you do a great job for someone, they're gonna be so ecstatic, because if you think about it, when you're helping someone buy or sell real estate, that's the only thing on their mind. And so they're probably attracting other people in the same regard that are actually buying and selling real estate, because they're thinking about it. And so if you are providing that wonderful service and communicating with them and following up with them and letting them know that, you know, it's not necessarily all stress-free, but you're here for them, that's just going to resonate with them, and they're going to want to refer business to you. So leading into the next one, asking your current clients to refer you. I just kind of sort of touched on it. Your clients are thinking, they're literally just vibrating. I'm buying or selling a house. They're vibrating. They're so excited. And so hopefully they're excited anyway, if you're providing good service, right? And they want to refer you. And most of the time, people in a year, they know about 5 people that are either buying or selling or investing in real estate. So ask your clients. And the best time to ask them, actually, all throughout the transaction, especially, but especially at the closing table when they're very happy about things, regardless of what happened, because we all know that real estate transactions can be a roller coaster. All right, let's see what we've got here. Is that the last one? Oh, how come that's not going? There we go. And thank your clients. Thank them often. You know, I know a lot of people, there's some people that don't think of getting their clients a client closing gift, but I think that that's, I don't know. I think that it's really something special to be able to hand someone keys and, you know, a nice bottle of wine or whatever it is, coffee, tea, whatever it is that they like, and something, maybe something like this that has your name on it so that they use it all the time. I know there's a lot of products out there that you can use. I know some people use Cutco as a client gift, but I think it's just really important to thank your clients and let them know that you wouldn't be here without their trust in you. And that does speak, you know, people like to be thanked. So, and what I have to say to that is go forth and slay the day. Make it rain so many referrals that you don't have to work with those people who maybe might not be your cup of tea. It is really empowering when you can say, you know, maybe I'm not the right fit for you. And that comes with having enough business coming your way that you can say that with confidence. And so with that, we only have a couple minutes, but if there's anything that anyone wants to add, I am all ears. Feel free to unmute yourself, type it in the chat. My information is down at the bottom there. And so feel free to send me an email or a text about anything that you've learned here or anything that you want me to share, or just any thoughts that you have at all. And let me skip back to my chat because that's not coming up like it usually does. Video messaging, you know, I'm getting better at video. Not in my texts yet, but you know, there's actually a cool app called Marco Polo that I've been using, and that is sort of a video. It's not like through my text, but it is a video like a walkie-talkie almost. And so I've used that. I did start in some communications, I've done some video messaging through like my newsletters and things like that, and that tends to get I'm getting way better at video. I think we all are. And BombBomb, yes, BombBomb is great. I have not used it, but I've heard wonderful things about it, and I've actually gotten some BombBomb emails. That's another platform that you can use for video emailing. Oh, thank you, Cynthia. Absolutely, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad that you learned something new. Thank you, Kerri. It's so good to see you guys. I can't wait to see you all in person soon. Hopefully in a couple months here. Is it a couple months? I don't even know. What month is it? Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. So Cynthia, you enjoy that pool. I'm jealous. Thank you all. And please do reach out to me for anything that you might have that I can share in the future.
Thanks, Kerri.
You're welcome. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Kerri.
You got it. My pleasure. Hope to see you soon, Jennifer. We're not that far.
I know.
There's some wineries open, just saying. Bye, guys.